Been a long time since I've done this. Woo! All right. How's this going to go? Hello and welcome back to the Limited Queue. Jesus. Anyway, today, I don't know, I was going to sit down and sort a bunch of cards, and I just figured I'd talk about Magic for a long time. This is going to be a little bit of an ASMR video, maybe. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to talk about my feelings on the reserve list, why Magic is the way it is today, where it's going in the future, what that might mean, and how we can best handle that situation. Also, I guess I should start out by explaining to you what I'm doing right now. A very long time ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I purchased an extremely large lot of bulk rares. It was from one of those very, very big companies. Channel, Snowball, Fire, whatever Rudy says. It was from definitely one of the big boys in the industry. I bought about 100,000 bulk rares for $4,000, which comes out to 4 cents per rare. They're all HP. And when those arrived, I immediately drove them down to my LGS, which is very well established. And they pay 10 cents per rare. So I flipped them to my LGS for 10 cents each. In one day, I made about $6,000. The second time, I decided that I was going to be a little bit smarter about the situation. So what I did was I bought approximately 240,000 bulk rares. And instead of immediately flipping them, I went through them. And I pulled every single card that was over about 80 cents at the time. And with that inventory, which came out to about 40,000 cards, I started a TCG player store. And that TCG player store has netted me somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 a year for the last 4 or 5 years. Also, while going through them, I hired somebody who was a little bit smarter than me, who I highly respected and trusted, to go through my gigantic lot of cards and pull out all of the worthless reserve list cards that were in this box of bulk that I had gotten with basically what was house money from the first time that I had bought 100,000 rares for 4,000 and flipped it for 10,000. So it was all free money at this point. And all said and done, I bought the first lot was 100,000. The second lot was about a $250,000. And of that $250,000, I ended up with approximately 40,000 cards that were worth about $1 each, just under $1 each. But you know, when you have something that's worth $1 each, it's not really worth $1 each because there goes a lot of time and effort and postage into shipping and selling them, like a card that's supposedly worth $1. So you don't walk away with $1. And I also ended up with approximately 30,000 bulk rare reserve list cards. The person who did that for me, they had actually owed me money for a previous Magic endeavor that we went into together. So they owed me a few $100. And I said, you know, instead of paying me back, how about, since you love Magic and you love going through cards, you take a weekend, you go through all this 250,000 cards, and you pull out all the reserve lists for me. So they did that, and that was how they worked off their debt to me. So the labor was essentially free-ish, because I did pay the 300. I paid them the money that they owed me, I guess, which was a few $100. But at the end of the day, I had 30,000 bulk reserve list cards put on the side in 2017 or 2018. I made all my money back with TCG Player Store, and what was left over of the bulk rares that were neither reserve list cards nor worth 80 cents each or more, I took to Grand Prix as I traveled around the country going to Grand Prix. I had a free checked bag with Southwest, and in that free checked bag, I put 2 monster boxes of bulk rares, which came out to about 10,000 bulk rares for every GP I went to. And I put all my clothes and my decks and whatnot in my carry-on, so it was essentially free to carry these suitcases filled with bulk rares to Grand Prix. And when I was there, I would either sell those bulk rares on Friday to a vendor who would then, they wouldn't even look at them basically. They would just put them out with a sign that says, this is their quarter bin or whatever. And by the end of the weekend, they had quadrupled their money on what they paid me. Or, if I didn't sell it to them outright, I would trade it in for a played unlimited Mox. So sometimes I couldn't find a vendor that wanted to pay me 10 cents for the bulk rares on Friday of the Grand Prix. So instead, I told them that I would take an $800 unlimited Mox. So I now have about 7 Mox Emeralds, Pearls, and Rubies, I think. Or they gave me between $800 and $1,000 for 10,000 bulk rares. All of this came from doing a deal that everybody said I was stupid to do. And I think that that's very important. When I purchased this lot, it was on eBay actually, in 2017, 2018, I purchased a lot of 100,000 bulk rares from a very well-known, well-respected Magic card company. Magic Card, what do they call themselves? Distributors? No. Magic Card Resale Company? Sure. And I was very surprised that I'd won, because I thought that I had been lowballing at the cost of 4 cents per rare. And as I was traveling around unloading these units, some of the people that said no to me were other large companies. And they knew where I told them where I got it from, and, no reason to lie. And they said, yeah, we looked at that. We saw that offering, and we decided to pass then for 4 cents each. So we're not going to give you 8 or 10 cents each now. That made perfect sense at the time. I mean, I can't argue with that logic. It makes sense. So flash forward 5 years, and the reserve list is doing some pretty crazy things. Don't know how to describe it. Is it a bubble? I don't think so. It could be. It has bubble properties, let's put it that way. There's been a recent dramatic rise in the price of many reserve list cards that I don't think anybody saw coming. So some of these are obscure. I have my own, for example, tracker. I can tell you right now that there is somebody in the community who has been collecting every single tracker that they can come across for the last 10 years. This tracker card, because of this one person, is going to be worth a lot of money in the future, because I would say that they have at this point soaked up maybe 40 or 50% of the available trackers that exist. It's a reserve list card. It's from a low print run set, the dark, and it's a rare. That person's going to be very well off pretty soon, if they want to move it. So I guess as I do this, I'm in a little bit of disbelief because last night, while my wife and I were going through, we watched WandaVision, and as we did it, I took out these 5 or 6 monster boxes filled with bulk HP rares. God, that is beat. But whatever, it's a tracker. I know somebody ought to buy it. Long COVID. I was going through these 5 or 6 boxes of HP reserve list rares that I had somebody else sort for me, and then I had a few years ago I took some time and I broke it down by set, so I'd separated all the sets from each other. So when I came across, there was like maybe 3 rows of Tempest reserve list bulk rares. Then what I did was I looked up on Goldfish how much Tempest, I looked up the price list for Tempest rares, sorted by descending, and I just picked out all the ones that were worth over $20. Or, I guess Recycle's only $15. So, around $20, I guess you should say. $15, I think Recycle's the cheapest card that I picked out. And as I did this, I started to do the math in my head as to what I was actually sorting through. It wasn't a little amount of money, let's just put it that way. And I wanted to go over, as I sorted, I wanted to go through some of my thoughts that I was having while I was doing this purchase that led me to be sorting this in front of a camera right now, and how that relates to today's Magic market and maybe real life. Long story short, if everybody tells you something's wrong, then it's good to be contrarian. I've been doing a lot of research into contrarian style investing, and I didn't know that that's what it was called when I was doing it. But contrarian investing is how I've approached Magic for a long time in my life, which sometimes has or hasn't worked out for me. I'll be honest about that. If everybody says something's bad, but you think it's good, and if you are familiar and knowledgeable about a topic, you should go with your own gut instinct and not listen to what people say. Because it's always easier to be negative about somebody else's choices. Never forget that. Because all they have to do is be right once, and they feel validated. But what they never ever realize when somebody else is talking negatively about your choices, when somebody else is telling you how stupid you are for making a deal that you're pretty sure is good, all they have to do is be right once so they can validate it in their own minds, walk away, pat themselves on the back, and tell themselves that they made the right decision by not doing something. And I've seen this happen so many times in life. Doesn't matter who or what. If you marry something, and it can be, there's several different topics that this can be about. If you marry somebody, right? I mean, that everybody thinks that you shouldn't marry, but in your mind, you think it's a good idea. They will talk it. They will take the rest of your lives to talk down about your decision, to make you feel stupid or wrong. So even if 40 years later your marriage dissolves, for who knows what reason, maybe it doesn't even need to be real life related. Maybe somebody obtains a mental illness. Maybe somebody dies early. Maybe something goes terribly wrong in your marriage. That person who said that it was a bad idea is then validated, because they said that you were wrong one time 40 years prior. And that's an incredibly hyperbolic example, but I've been finding more and more that contrarian style of thinking continues to work out for me in my life as I watch other people max out credit cards for clothes or cars that they can't afford. And I spend house money on bulk rares that other people tell me I'm either they explain why they passed on it at the time, which I respect, or they will flat out tell me that I made a worthless deal, even as they're watching me profit. That's the part that cracks me up. I had plenty of investor type friends who watched me do this purchase, watched me put the work in. It took several weeks actually, maybe a little bit, maybe about a month of sorting through cards, figuring out what things are worth. Oh, look. I'm pretty sure that's a good card now, right? I'm not sure. And this was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that I was sorting through cards, figuring out what things are worth, having people make fun of me. Not make fun of me, but even if they were just explaining all the reasons that they couldn't do it. Okay. I understand how you couldn't put $4,000 somewhere and then immediately 1.5x your money, literally same day that you receive the product. I get that. Keep telling me why you couldn't. And then if you were to do it 2 or 3 more times, keep telling me how it just wasn't for you to put 4 boxes of cards in a corner for 5 years. Keep telling me how different your position is from mine. And I'll smile and nod and say how right you are, for sure. Because there's no way that I can prove you wrong. But all you have to do is sit back and wait. You know, all the naysayer has to do is sit back and wait for the one time you might trip. And then they feel that they did the right thing. They'll tell you time and time again how important it was that they do a certain thing in their life instead of what you did, or instead of what you invited them to do. They'll tell you all the reasons why it shouldn't have worked and how you were on the receiving end of a black swan event. And you're just lucky. Okay. I guess I'm just lucky. I guess I'm just lucky. And I personally believe that every single card on the reserve list will, in the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 years, maybe 6 years, minimum, it's going to be $25 to $50. And I was thinking that as I was going through the reserve list cards, picking out the ones that I thought were worth saving based on today's prices, you know. And right now I'm approaching 40. So what does that mean? It means that if I just put these in a corner, it doesn't cost me anything. I mean, you can make an argument that I paid for these sleeves, which were incredibly cheap. You can buy them in bulk. You can make an argument that I'm spending time on my Saturday putting pieces of cardboard into pieces of plastic, and that's not for you. Sure, I get that argument. But these have just sat, in some cases, for 20 years, and they've gone from virtual nothing to $20. If that were to repeat, and everything that is virtual nothing goes to $20, and all the things that are $20 now, say they go to $40. Just repeat the last 20 years, which I think is incredibly bearish to say when it comes to reserve list rares. Just repeat the last 20 years. So when the time I'm 60, these will be worth over $1 million. Because I took a Saturday and I took a shot. That's all it was. These cards are going to sit in their little plastic sleeves in a box, stored in a corner where nobody goes. They're not going to do anything. This might be the last time they see the light of day for the next 10 years. And then everybody will be amazed, right? And you know what? I guess what Rudy says is true. It's not glamorous. It's not special. There's nothing fancy about having cards in a box, right? You know, what am I going to do? I'm going to take it out with me and parade it down the street. Can't wear it around my neck. Can't show it off, right? So I guess that makes me a fool. Because these cards that I essentially, I mean, depending on your argument, you could either say I got them for free, or that I got paid to take them, I guess, because I'm still profiting off of the other cards that came with it. Depending on your argument. I guess this $1 million is going to come out of nowhere, right? Because I'm pretty sure it's just going, I mean, I understand that condition means a lot, right? But there's a lot here. And this is just the beginning. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do this for a few hours. And as I sit here, my wife has told me not to tell anybody about this, which is actually really valid. You know, why don't I keep it to myself? I should, maybe. But I'm getting tired of being right and not having the ability to tell other people that I said so. I think that's really what it is. That's the deep-seated, dark secret as to why I'm making this video. Is it a giant, I told you so? Maybe it is. Maybe that's what it is. I have no idea what order I'm putting these in. Just trying to keep them together and sort them at least by set. Maybe then by card, but we'll see. But each one that I pick up is now a $20 bill because I did something that other people said was stupid. I guess I live, you know, a lot of people say I shouldn't live where I live. I don't live in the... Ooh. I live in Brooklyn. I think that might change soon. And when it does, it might be because of this. And you know what I'm going to do when I move? I'm going to make another contrarian choice as to where to live. My parents have already told me that I shouldn't live where I'm looking. It's foolish, it's stupid. Maybe they're just wrong. And if they are, I get to just do this again, right? Idaho is paying people to move there. You get $10,000 to move to Idaho. I haven't particularly looked in Idaho yet. Probably will later this week. And everybody's going to tell me that's stupid, it's wrong, this, that, the other thing. Because there's nothing in Idaho. Like, where am I going to go in Idaho? And I guess, you know, my answer to that question is, where do I go now? We've been in lockdown for the last year. Card sleeves and card top loaders are impossible to find because so many collectors have bought them out. And yes, it's also because the plastic is used in N95 masks, so there's like a global shortage of this type of plastic. But maybe 20 years from now, I'll be in Idaho, living in a house that I paid almost nothing for. That's worth 10x what I paid for it. Because everybody said it was a bad idea. Why? Because, oh, there's nothing to do in Idaho. I've been locked in my apartment for the last year. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do now. Honestly, I've gotten into a groove where I enjoy being by myself and with my wife, and that's it. I'm very happy. So maybe if I don't need the hustle and bustle of New York City, then why am I here? Why am I paying $30,000 a year in rent so somebody else can profit off of me sitting in an apartment wishing I wasn't here? Sounds ridiculous, right? It's the truth as to what's happening. This very second, I'm being taken advantage of because of where I chose to live, which was, incidentally, the same spot that many other people want to live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Pretty sure that's like half my wife's paycheck for the week. Are people going to be upset with me? Maybe. It's very important that you have at least a few people on your side, right? I don't know about that anymore. How often do people just take up your time, drag you down? Don't get me wrong, I love my dog. I really, really do. But as he gets older, I'm starting to count the number of hours that we spend taking him to and from vets. What am I talking about? I'm not going to get rid of him. But I'm saying that love that I have for him costs time. That's a scary thought. Because that's time that I could be using to find the next opportunity. Maybe that's a little bit too much, because I do waste time doing other things. I spend way too much time playing Magic Arena. Just one of my favorite cards, by the way. I really hope that this note never goes on the fake ban list. Sorry I burned down your village. Here's some gold. That's just, I loved it even when I was a kid. I thought it was so ridiculous, which probably means that the next wave of insensitivity training that WotC puts its customers through, this is gonna get hit. It's gonna get hit hard. I guess nobody wants to hear the truth in their fantasy game, right? Isn't that how the world works? Maybe I'm just a stupid pessimist, doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure that is how the world works. World's getting to be a weird place, guys. At least it's a weird place while I'm sitting here counting $600,000 in cards that I got for free 5 years ago that everybody said was stupid to do. Yep. Yep. I feel like we had another Suleiman's Legacy somewhere. Did I screw that up? Stupid decisions, huh? I don't work a regular 9-to-5 job, and I haven't for the last, honestly, most of my entire life. I've never really worked a 9-to-5. Everybody said it was a terrible idea. How stupid I was. How I needed stability. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was 17, I was in a car accident. I'm not going to say whose fault it was, because I was too young at the time to really know. It was probably my fault. It was a multi-car accident. There was a lot of things happening going on at the time. Long story short, I ended up suing a security company that had lights facing the wrong way on the street. And then as a go-away payment, I ended up with $50,000 in an account when I was 17 years old. I went with my dad down to Fidelity. And they asked, how did I want to invest that $50,000 for my future? Which, now, even looking back, I don't want to say I'm angry that I was put in that situation. I don't really understand how anybody expected me as a 17-year-old kid to make a good decision. But what bothers me most is that I think I would have made a good decision. I said, right then and there, interest rates at the time were 12% on annuities. An annuity is a type of retirement account where once you put your money in, you can't touch it, you can't take it out until you're 65. And interest, I was 17 at the time, and I did the calculations. $50,000 at 12% a year would come out to a ridiculous amount of money when I was 65 and ready to retire. So I told the guy at Fidelity, I'm standing there with my dad. My dad's a wonderful person. Not always the best financial mind. My dad is easily one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Easily. Maybe probably, I mean, I can't think of anybody more impressive, more good, more genuinely caring than my father. He is everything to me. Sitting there, geez, it's a hell of a HP rare, huh? Wow. Glad I got this for nothing and now it's worth $40. Sitting there at Fidelity with my father, standing in front of a kid. I can say kid now, but at the time he was a financial advisor. He had a suit and tie on. And I swear this guy looked no older than 24. At the front desk at Fidelity Investments. And this guy convinced both me and my father, this 24, 25-year-old kid. I can picture him in my mind now, 20 years later. I still remember what he looks like. Convinced both me and my father that my decision to put $50,000 into an annuity for my retirement at 12% returns in 1999 would have been the worst financial decision I ever made. And what I should really do is put it into a short-term investment account that gave much less yields. And I could use that $50,000 as a down payment for a house when I was ready to buy. My father felt like this was a good idea. I said, okay. He set me up with an online account, which in 1999 was a big deal, new stuff, hot new ticket. And there I had $50,000 in a short-term trading investment account with Fidelity when I was 17. Five years later, at the end of my undergrad, that $50,000 was gone. Now, everybody was really surprised. And I'll tell you, looking back, I think it's ridiculous that they were surprised. I really do. What did you expect? What did you really expect? Am I mad at those people? No. Just really wish that I had followed my gut. If I had just put that away, that $50,000 would be something like $250,000 now. Yeah, it would be in an annuity and I couldn't touch it. But by the time I was ready to retire, I'd still be getting that 12%. And I could have added more money to it over time. Really foolish. Really, really foolish. I don't know really what more to say about that other than, do I blame the Fidelity guy? No, that's just blaming somebody else for a problem that you don't want, that you're not willing to accept responsibility for. Who is to blame? Me. You know why I'm to blame? Because I listened to other people when I should have just, this is stupid. Why is this card $30? Is it just because Perage is like a meme? Like Perage, and it's a cat? I have no idea. it's okay. Anyway. This card's interesting. Baron Singer. I'm pretty sure. So somebody in the Magic Art Facebook group, there's a MTG Art Market Facebook group, announced that he was going to sell the original art for Baron Singer a few months ago. And as soon as he announced it, he started talking about what an iconic card it is, this, that, the other thing. I never thought it was that iconic. Yeah, it's a big fat black creature from Homelands. Who cares? But as soon as they announced it, the price of this card started to rise. And I always thought that was really interesting. You know, if you were going to create your own hype for an older card that you wanted to sell for a lot of money, you know, it was because it's a one of one. It's the original art for Baron Singer. What would you do to try to make sure that you got the most bang for your buck? Personally, I think that buying out your own reserve list card that you have the original art for is a pretty smart move. And I will tell you on that I have personal knowledge that the owner of the original art for Polar Kraken is doing the same thing. So if you look at the history of the price for Polar Kraken, you'll see that about once a year it spikes really hard. And what that is the owner of the Polar Kraken art is buying out their own card. And the reason that they're doing it is, you know, they say they like the art, they like the card, this, that, the other thing, but the reality is, if one person's able to corner the market on both the art and drive up the price for the card, which might affect the price of the art when they go to sell it, that's a pretty smart move, in my opinion. So if you ever want to see a perfect example of Magic price manipulation, look at the price history for Polar Kraken. Very interesting to see. When that person, you know, if they continue to do what they're doing every year, they're going to buy out Polar Kraken up to a certain dollar amount, which is their prerogative, of course. It's their money. They can spend it however they want. But if they keep doing that, eventually, they're just going to restrict supply so much that the price of their own card skyrockets. And when the price of their own card skyrockets, the art for their card that they would have previously sold for maybe a few thousand will maybe then fetch a few tens of thousands. And when the art fetches tens of thousands, then they have a whole bunch of the card to also sell back. So what are they doing on a small scale? Are they just targeting a card, driving up the price, holding until your $4 Polar Kraken is worth $1,000 just because you own a good amount of the Polar Krakens that, you know, are in playable condition, that are in existence? Maybe. How do you benefit off of that? Maybe a smart investor would go and start also buying up Polar Krakens, knowing that somebody else is going to do the legwork for them and drive up the price. Interesting. Somebody might want to do that. I think I might do that. If you look at the graph for Reality Shift, which is a reserve list Ice Age rare, I just really like the art. So right before Aether Revolt, if you look at the price history for Reality Shift, is it Reality Shift? It's the blue one with that has the chessboard that's twisting around. Give me a sec, maybe I can find that. I guess my Reality Twist. Okay. I've got a few boxes that look like this, and this is not all Reality Twist. You might have seen that. I have every now and then I'll buy out a few cards that I think are interesting. Hey. Anyway, if you look at the price history of Reality, oh geez, Twist, Reality Twist. I just had the card in my head. You notice that there's a very minor bump in price right before either Revolt. I think I brought the price from 15 cents each to about 70 cents each. The highest that I would buy the card for was $1. And that was Ada Revolt. So that was what, 2018, 2019? I bought it out. I bought out every single copy that existed. And I mostly did it just to see if I could make the price on the graph rise. That's what I wanted to do. Which might be stupid. But I had some extra money at the time. Why not? Everybody told me I was an idiot. Why would I bother with such a crappy card? So I have about somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 Reality Twists lying around. I bought a whole lot. Everyone I could find. I think my average cost was somewhere around 30 cents. Now they're worth $5 each, theoretically. Are they going to go up? Yes. Why? Because they are reserve list rares. And I have 10,000 examples, well, this isn't 10,000, 2,000 examples of similar cards that have gone up in the past. Are these similar? Are these 10,000 examples outliers? I don't think so. I do think that eventually every single reserve list card is going to go up. It's impossible for it to go down, right? I mean, some of these cards are utterly useless. What are the requirements for some of these cards to go up? I'm pretty sure that Parage of Urborg doesn't see any play at all in Commander or anything like that. I mean, Baron I kind of understand because it's a wizard, and he saw play in the wizard deck. I mean, what is this? This Baron, not Baron Singer, Baron Master Wizard. The pirates, I kind of understand because they're pirates. And then, you know, if you want to make a cool pirate-themed deck, there's only one way to do it, and apparently it involves that card, which is not true, but sure. But a lot of these cards don't make any sense. There's no reason. It doesn't take much. All it takes is somebody with $400 that wants to, you know, maybe somebody with an extra stimulus check. That's all it takes, really. You too can make the price of almost any card you want go from 15 cents to 70 cents just to make the graph move. I thought it was funny. And apparently, what I thought was funny is now worth, I don't know, 5 or 6 times what I put into it. Of course, worth is always put in quotes. Everything is worth something. Weird. Just a weird concept. What are things worth? I don't know. It's a great example. Frankenstein's monster. What is this card worth? It doesn't see play in actual anything. It's just old and there's not a lot of them. What is it worth? Honestly, I've stopped asking myself questions like this because none of it makes any sense. Contrarian investing. It's the only. So if everybody says, 2 years ago, everybody was saying that revised rares were useless. I have this TCG Player Store. Look back at some of the sales I made, and I regret them so much because I didn't listen to myself. And, the cards that go up in value, that's good and great. It's the cards that go up in value that I knew I should have saved at the time. Those are the ones that bother me. Have you looked at the price for Shivan Dragon lately? That makes no damn sense. Why? Yes, Melissa Benson art is amazing. I've actually thought about getting that card as a tattoo. But there's no reason. 2 years ago I was selling them for 25 cents each, and now they're $20. Yeah, I think I feel a little stupid. What's the answer? Should just listen to my gut. That's the answer. Maybe somebody's just listening to their gut about Parage or Urborg, which makes no damn sense to me, but whatever. Listen to your gut. Yeah, pro tip, if you ever want to get into sorting cards on a bulk scale, always do it upside down. Is there any reason that this card is worth what it's worth today? I can't think of one. What does it even do? At the end of each player's turn, all of his or her untapped creatures that could have attacked but did not are destroyed. If you do not pay 2 life during your upkeep, upkeep 2 life. Effects that return. Okay, it's actually a pretty fun card. No more blocking for you, I guess. That's cool. Season of the Witch, I kind of understand. That's a card. Wall of Kelp? Probably not. Wall of Kelp is a meme. Oh look, $40. So dumb. But I guess that's what it is, right? I guess, how do people accumulate wealth? And maybe I'm just learning how that works. Maybe that's what this process is. This is just me understanding that it has nothing to do with how hard you work or try throughout your life. That's not the goal. And maybe that's what I should have learned in my 20s. I'm almost 40 now. Not exactly 40. I'm in my late 30s now. And I did. I busted my ass throughout my 20s. I really, really did. I tried really hard. I did pretty damn well for myself, to be honest with you. Never worked for. I worked for a large company, a large financial services company, in 2007, 2008. Worked for them for about a year. This wasn't for me. Worked on Wall Street for a little bit. It wasn't for me. It wasn't all about corporate restructuring. That's the industry I fell into. And when I went to do something else, I ended up losing that job. There's many different ways to tell this story. I lost that, but TLDR. I lost that job because they offered me a promotion in title, a promotion in responsibility, and it came with no promotion in pay. I was not being paid a lot. And I went to them with this grievance. And I said, listen, I'm already working 60 hours a week. You're paying me basically jack nothing. If I turn down this promotion, because for the reasons that it's only a promotion in title, it's only a promotion in responsibilities, I'm going to end up working 70 to 75 hours a week, and you're not going to be paying me anymore. This is why I'm turning it down. If I choose to do that, will my job be here for me on Monday? And I said that in that exact same way. Maybe not with the same cadence. And my manager said, yes, of course. So I said, in that case, I think I'm going to have to decline this promotion. Okay? That was Thursday that I told them that. Next morning I went in, Friday. Security stopped me at the door. They asked me which cubicle was mine. I told them. They told me to wait downstairs. They would bring my things to me. That was the last time I worked for anybody. really, really stung. Because I didn't want to put in an additional 5, 10, 15 hours for no additional pay. With the difference being that, I had a different title. I just wasn't, it was a point in my life where I was not ready to accept that. I had a lot of things going on in my personal life that were going sideways. I needed the time to myself, and I didn't want to be a person that just made work my life. So because I made that decision, I was no longer welcome to work for them in their environment. At the time, I was devastated. Looking back now, I realize and understand that was one of the best things they ever could have done for me. I have often thought about writing them a thank you letter, saying, hey, thanks for firing me. At the time of my life, I've traveled around the world. I've met a whole bunch of people I never would have met if I was sitting in a freaking cubicle getting, I don't know if I can say the R word, getting taken advantage of by you. I've really thought about it. Maybe I've put too much thought into it. That what does that say of me? God, have you guys been paying attention to where I've been putting stuff? Guess there's no wall of kelp pile yet, right? Is there a homelands pile? Yeah, sure. Baron Singer, you're my homelands pile. So everything, all the ways I busted my ass throughout my 20s, all of them, meant nothing at the end. Well, that's not entirely true. I made enough money to travel the world, meet new people, this, that, the other thing, the dark. But nothing was as profitable. Nothing that I did throughout my 20s was as profitable as doing nothing in my 30s. That sounds so obscure to say. But all I had to do was buy this and do nothing. That's it. I could have flipped it for 6 cents profit per card. I could have done that the same day I got it. But instead, I put a little bit of effort in and chose to do nothing. Now here I am making a video about what kind of genius that was. Maybe that's what life is. As you get older, you start to realize that the race is just a distraction. It really is. Nothing. I mean, I'm incredibly fortunate because I'm in my late 30s and I don't have children. Honestly, the dog is enough external responsibility for me as a pain in the ass. I have a loving wife who is incredibly capable, which I'm always very thankful for. But all I had to do to maintain, profit for the last 10 years is almost nothing. Just buy this. Don't do anything. And honestly, if I had bought the other stuff and done less, I would have made more. I would have hundreds of Shivan Dragons. Revised, unlimited, 4th, 5th edition. Hundreds flowed through my hands in the last 10 years. All I had to do was nothing. That is obscure to me. And you know what that means? It means that moving forward, I'm going to choose with this stuff. Everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, this one's pretty beat to crap. Everybody's going to say, everybody's going to have an opinion, right? Do this, do that. Or, how about I just do nothing? It worked. My wife, we're looking at buying houses. And that's actually what prompted me to go through this and see how much I had this. We're looking at buying houses. We're looking at the cost of what that realistically would take. And it's a lot. It's a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money right now, but what I do have is a lot of magic cards. do I want to trade Magic cards for a house? That's a really tough question, to be honest with you. I have always said no. I would rather keep this and rent for the next 5 years than get rid of this and buy a house. But when you have other people relying on you to make decisions, that becomes a real choice. You know, that's like a hill to die on. It's very important to have somebody in your life that understands your decision-making process. Hey, this went from free to, Jesus, I don't know, 1,000 cards. Figure this went from free to I don't even know how much this is. Let's just say they're all $20 because that's kind of what the average of what I was looking at. So they're all $20 each. I'd say there's 2,000 cards here. So this went from free to $40,000 in 5 years. Why sell now? Hold. Just like what Mark Cuban said about GameStop. If you're into a stock, Bubble Matrix, is this a mistake? I don't think this is worth what I think it's worth. If you're into a stock, and your reasons for being into it haven't changed, even though the stock price has gone down, you don't sell. And that's not the case with this. Stock price has gone up, and I'm still not selling. I don't need to sell. The only reason I would need to sell would be for a house. Do I think that Magic cards will appreciate in value faster than real estate for the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, I think they will. That's a sick and scary thing to say. Sick and scary. I guess that's the world we live in, right? Also, buying a house requires doing something, and I have clearly shown that doing nothing is far more profitable, right? Doing nothing at the right times, because I guess there's an argument that if I had done nothing like everybody told me to do nothing when I chose to buy this gigantic lot 5 years ago, then I would have done nothing and received nothing. That's an excellent point. So I guess you have to pick your battles and choose your times that you're going to do nothing. That's an interesting concept that I hadn't thought of. Just do nothing at the right time. Do nothing, but only at the right times, because then sometimes if you do nothing, then you'll lose out. But if you do nothing at the wrong times, then you'll also miss out. Choose your spots to do nothing. Okay. Interesting. That's what life is in 2021 now, right? Whoever does the most nothing wins. It's an interesting concept. I'm going to take a break now. Maybe I'll post a sequel to this. We'll see. More Bubble Matrix. I gotta look that up. I don't think that's worth what I think it's worth. I think that's a mistake. Oh, Paradigm Shift. That's a nice $30 card.